Hey there, Stampers. This is Sherry Roth with Stamped Treasures. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada, and I am excited to be here today to kick off the release of my 2025 Christmas mini album options for this year. So you can see I've got a few here. Um, it's a little later than what I normally like to release my mini albums. Usually my holiday mini albums are released sometime in October, but I've had a busy season here or busy fall, so I'm a little behind, but I think you'll be happy with what I have to offer. So here's a little peek at three different versions. I'm going to share this one first. So this one is one that I um, offered at my fall retreat. So retreat attendees had the option to purchase this kit um, and made this album, and it is using the elegant products from the Elegant Pine Snowflakes suite from Stampin' Up. It's an online exclusive collection of products, and the paper is stunning. And this album is actually made out of two envelopes. So that is the base of the album. So I'm going to do a quick little flip through here. So you can see that that opens up. So there's lots of pockets where you can add photos or journaling. So here is some more little inserts. There's little clips, so you can add extra memorabilia. You can reposition them. Lots of photo mats. And I used, because if you follow me, you know that I'm really into repurposing things. So I've got some repurposed stuff in here as well. So some black lined paper that I picked up at the reuse store, some lined paper from a notebook, some lace. Here's a little flip up. This is a little pocket. So there is a tutorial available for this, and in the tutorial, I walk you through assembling this little mini album. I give you all the measurements, how to cut it, how to assemble, the supply list, everything. Here's some ledger paper, which is so fun. This is a napkin. We Mod Podge a napkin. Um, so that's kind of fun, but you could also replace that with some pattern paper as well. And just lots of little bits and pieces. There's another piece of that napkin in here. And then this opens up, and then that got an insert there. So this is called the Elegant Pine Envelope Mini Album Tutorial or Kit. And at the top or in the description, I have a link to where you can find this tutorial. Now, I happen to cut extra kits for the retreat, and I have two left. So I cut several extras, but once people saw what others were making, they snagged some of those extra tutorials. So I only have two extra kits. So I only have two of these kits left. These are $45 each, and it includes half a package of the pattern paper, the envelope, all of the supplies that you need, apart from the stamps, ink, adhesive, that type of thing. All right. So if you're interested in that, shipping will be extra. I can ship anywhere in Canada. I'd have to work out the shipping cost. Or if you are local to me and would like to pick up the kit, then it would just be a flat $45. Okay, let me know about that. And if you want to make this album, um, you can purchase the tutorial at the link in the description, and that will walk you through creating it. So the album base is just made. I happen to find these envelopes at our local Hodgepodge Lodge. Um, so these are 5x7 envelopes. So they're a little bit larger than 5x7 envelopes, but I do explain kind of how to make sure that you are adjusting accordingly if you don't have these exact envelopes. All right. So that is option number one. Option number two is the one that I'm super excited about. So for this option, both of these, I'm calling this my what am I calling it? Hanging file mini album project tutorial. Class to go is going to be available in all different formats. So you will get in the tutorial, I walk you through creating both versions of these albums. So both of these albums were created from a hanging file folder. So I walk you through cutting, assembling, adding the signature, everything. The class to go is using the um, North Pole Delivery Specialty DSP. So it's this pattern paper, but you have the choice of either doing this version of the album or this version of the album. So I'm going to explain why there's two different versions. So this was the one that I created initially, and it got really chunky really fast. So my intent, and I will do a flip through in a minute, my intent was to have this flap come over, but it got so chunky and there's not even any photos or anything added to it yet, which is fun. I mean, I love the chunkiness of it. Um, but I thought that it would be fun to kind of come up with an alternate so that you could have that flap going around like this. So after I created this one, I redesigned the album. The insert, so the inside pages would be exactly the same whether you're creating this album cover or this album cover. They're the same sizes, everything. The only difference is the cover and where you're cutting and scoring. So you can see that we've got like a 1 inch spine. And then for this one, I used some old lace that I had thrifted to kind of hold the album closed, and it just opens up. Now, this is using a different collection than this because this actually used more than half a package of the DSP. So I normally try to limit my mini albums to half a package so that you don't need to have a whole package and so that I can easily divide it. But you will need more than half a package for this. And I didn't have any extra DSP, so I had to use something else for my stash. So this uses something, it's not even Stampin' Up! Product. But that's one of the great things about these types of tutorials is you can really use whatever it is that you have on hand. In the video, when I walk you through this, I use something completely different. I use a hodgepodge of products from my collection because I've done so many Christmas projects. I didn't have enough pattern paper from any one collection. So I just picked and mixed and matched. So you'll see a few different variations in the tutorial for these albums. Okay. All right, so let's do a flip through here. So again, your cover is actually a hanging file folder that we alter. I did add some fabric here. You don't have to add fabric if you're not purchasing the class to go. I will include everything that you need in the class to go, but if you're not purchasing the class to go and you don't have fabric on hand, you can use pattern paper for that as well. All right, so there's a little pocket here. There's cute little jingle bells throughout. And then there's a little flip out. So another little pocket for extra photos, memorabilia. This is a little side pocket. And you will see I am using like some ledger paper, some notebook paper, some different things that I have thrifted. Those will be included in the class to go kit. And then also got another option. So if you're a demonstrator and you want to make this, but don't want to have to go out and find all these bits and pieces, then I do have an option for you as well. So I'll share that in a minute. Um, the other thing is if you are not into this kind of a look, you can always replace these with more pattern paper or maybe some two-tone cardstock. I wouldn't necessarily suggest replacing some of these lighter pages with more cardstock because then your book is going to be even thicker and it's going to be harder to bind. Okay. And then here, created a little notepad with some random papers. This uses more of that file folder. If you've taken any of my classes, you know that I always say don't throw anything out until you're finished because you never know when you're going to come back and use those bits and pieces. I pulled out a button from my collection. When was the last time anybody has used a button, right? There's some brown paper in here. Here's another little jingle bell, a little tag that you can reposition if you want. This is a little belly band. So I really stuck with the dog focus. I do have some of the other critters from this DSP in here, but I plan on using this album to kind of document my grandpuppies over the years during the holiday season. And then here I've got some pom-pom trim along the edges. Here we've got a spot for either some smaller photos or some journaling. This can be used for journaling, or you can add more photo mats. Here is another piece of that file folder, the little flip out. random bits and pieces. There's some book paper here, couple pockets so that you can add more photos or memorabilia. Here is a big tag that you can add photos to or journaling. Here's another little clip, a fun little clip idea with a bell on it. This is just a fun page. This is one of my favorite pages. I love how that turned out. Just using bits and pieces. Here is a little envelope that you can tuck memorabilia, extra photos, anything in there. I'm not going to bother retying that right now. And then these are for extra photos. They're 2x3 photos, or you can use them for journaling. Here is another pocket, so extra photos. Here is another pocket using a doily. So that just gets tucked in there. And then these last few pages I left blank so that that would give you the option to do with it what you want. So whether you want to, if you've got extra photos that you want to add, if you've got you know, some extra memorabilia or some maybe some journaling that you want to add, you can do that. You can also add extra clips and maybe if you've gotten some special tags or Christmas cards, you can kind of put pieces of those in here as well. The pocket just has some extra supplies in here. And then this version has this flap at the back that you can put a little pocket on with this little tag. All right. So that is the flip through. So the class to go will include the a package of the I always forget the name of this pattern paper, North Pole Delivery Specialty DSP, and all the additional supplies you need to create this. It does not include any stamped images, which I've included very few. The great thing about this paper pack is you get 2 sheets, and each sheet is different of die cut elements. So that is where all of these little embellishments came in. Those are all die cut elements. I did do a little bit of stamping just with some words. So December documented, the Christmas in here. There might be the other odd one that's in there. For that, I use Keeping Traditions, but I'm sure you've got something in your collection that you could use that you've carried over the years or that we've carried at some point. Um, and it will include a link to the tutorial. The tutorial alone for this is $35. So if you get the class to go, you'll get the tutorial, but you'll also get all the other things that I mentioned, and that is $55 plus shipping. And I can ship anywhere in Canada. Okay, so that is that option. But in the tutorial, I also walk you through creating this version. So this version here. So it is slightly different. So this inside part will be exactly the same as this, as what's inside here, but your front will look a little bit different. So here, this is a little narrower than this one, okay, because we had to take some of the file folder to create our spine. And then at the back, this is the same, but your back flap is a little narrower. So this pocket, you'll still receive the supplies to create this pocket, but you can put that somewhere else in your album. All right, because this pocket won't fit on this flap because we needed to shrink down that flap so that we could get the spine on this side. All right. I'll do a quick flip through of this one, but this is, like I said, this is not Stampin' Up! Product, but it's a great way to showcase that you can use the tutorials that I offer using anything that you have on hand. Like seriously, you do not need to own what I am using in order to take inspiration from this. So this is, I think this is a Graphic 45 collection, an older one from a number of years ago that I purchased at a garage sale. Um, so I kept the format very similar. So you can see as if you flip through, if you remember what I just flipped through, you can see that the format is very close. Here I did change out the envelope to a 5x7 because I had a 5x7 envelope that was craft, and I felt like the craft envelope matched better. And then there's a little pocket. And then we've got our notepad that's still there. I had to make this pocket a little bit bigger because the flap of the envelope goes on this side and I needed to cover that. So this strip is a little bit bigger. So I did have to make some adjustments, but I walk you through all that so that if you're making your own album, you kind of know what kinds of things to look for. All right, here I used some vintage lace that I had in my collection. Here's that little flap. I've got a little pocket here. So this is kind of like a Christmas Carol kind of themed book. I included some extra little pieces on there, a couple little pockets here. This envelope, I put a little magnet on there for that one. And I think I might include a magnet in the class kit as well, because I feel like the magnet just holds better than the twine does. And then we've got that pocket, this pocket, this I fussy cut from some pattern paper. And then we've got leftover bits and pieces here. And then this one closes like this. Now you could, like I said, I have this that I just slide on and use that to hold my album closed. But you could, if you were making this, you could do this element, you could pop it up and you could just pop it up on this side and have this flap kind of slide underneath and that would hold it closed. So there's lots of options. And I go through a lot of that in the tutorial. All right, so you can find the tutorial and a link to where you can sign up for the class to go in the description. But if you are a demonstrator and you want to make something similar to this, and you don't want to have to go out and find all this stuff, first of all, I would check at home because you likely have a lot of this stuff at home. This was just created from a hanging file. If you've got a cabinet in your house, you likely have a hanging file. So you can pull out and use one of those. I've got some cheesecloth that you can find at the dollar store, and then just random papers. So random types of papers. This is an old book, old Reader's Digest book that I kind of tore apart because I was using the book for something else. Here is some dotted paper. This is a medium-sized doily. This is some brown paper from Amazon packaging. There's a medium-sized envelope in there. There is um, some lined paper from a notebook, some other fun paper, and some ledger paper. So I will be offering a limited number of these kits, and I did post a link to where you can find more information on that in the description as well. All right. So those are the options for this year's Christmas mini albums. Just a reminder, if you do want one of the kits for this particular album, I only have two left. I won't be cutting more because I don't have any more of these green envelopes. And I've been there and done that and cut them for my class, so I don't want to recut them again. But you can get a kit to go for this album. All right. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Registration, it's going to be a quick turnaround because I want to make sure that I can get these out before the end of November so that you can create them in time for Christmas. So the deadline to register for the class to go is November 16th, which is this coming Sunday. So you'll want to get on that quite quickly if you want to participate in the class to go. All right. So thanks so much for watching. Let me just have a quick look, make sure there's no questions. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think we're good. All right. So reach out if you have any questions, and I will see you next time. Take care.